Hi guys, welcome to MyGuy's review of The Boy. So this is the first kind of 2016 horror film that's come out, just out now. So the basic premise of the story is it's about a girl who is in an abusive relationship and tries to get away from that, and finds herself taking up a job as a nanny. Not just any old nanny, a live-in nanny job. And the nanny job is to a porcelain doll. So it seems, a porcelain doll. Now this doll is being looked after and cared for and loved for much for by this old couple. Now this old couple have told her, this is the way you need to look after the doll. These are the things that you must do, and give her a list of things that they must do while she's looking after the boy. Like she shouldn't leave him alone, needs to feed him, kind of things you do with a child. So she's a nanny who's been given a set of rules, um, and kind of doing something she's never done before for this wealthy couple. And it seems a bit odd that they live in this isolated house in England, this huge, beautiful countryside. But it's very unusual. But the boy, the actual porcelain doll, is really creepy. It's great because normally you watch these films, and sometimes the character or the main horror element comes from something which um, isn't as scary looking as this. This doll, I mean, if you're left alone with this doll, you would definitely be scared. This isn't a normal kind of toy doll. Obviously, Chucky back in the day, when it first came out, was this kind of plastic doll, and now looks a bit dated, but still looks good and looks quite scary. And this doll, just straight away, the first thing you noticed about the whole way the film is kind of directed and the way it looks, it has a creepier look and feel about it, which is really good. And so she's left with the doll. At first she just thinks this is a joke, but then she finds out that they lost their son in a house fire on his 8th birthday, and they couldn't cope with the loss. And so what they did was they took care of this doll, which reminds them of their 8-year-old. And they treat him like a real boy, and they kind of like been doing that for 20 years now. And so they now obviously give her a set of instructions and how to look after him, and a list of 10 rules. Um, and as they kind of leave, they kind of whisper, "I'm very sorry," and kind of like something's about to happen now. She gets left alone in this big house, and that's kind of where the film's gonna kind of happen, and everything's going to take place. Now, what she does is something that at first really annoys me, because I think you're a nanny, you've taken on a job. There's a set of rules on what you need to do, and she does not live up to these rules, and she starts to kind of not do what she's supposed to do. And you kind of think, well, this old couple who are looking after the doll lovingly, caringly, they told you this is your job, this is what you need to do. But for some reason, you choose not to do these things. And obviously, as she kind of treats it all as a bit of a joke and kind of starts ignoring the doll, and she notices her clothes disappear, she gets locked in the attic, she finds mess in the bedroom, she starts to hear noises, shadows, all that kind of good, creepy stuff that you want to see in horror films. So at this point, you don't really, I personally detached myself from her as the character main lead, because I was kind of like, you've taken on a job, you've got a set of instructions, they've told you what you need to do, you're a living nanny, and this is it, this is your job. But you're not taking it seriously, you're kind of just like being really blasé about it. And so, the doll starts to move around, and it's kind of left in different place. This story of the doll reminded me a lot of the last Chucky film that went straight to DVD, where they're in the house, they get the present, and it's the new Chucky doll, the old Chucky doll, and we find out that Chucky obviously is back to take out the family, and he kills the mum, and then the sister comes along, and the kids, and everything else. And it was really, really good film, really good Chucky film. The ending and the post-credit scenes are amazing. Great watch, and the house plays a big element in that film. Similar here, you've got this creepy house, and the way it's directed and the way it's built up, it's this nice slow build, and you're always kind of wondering what's going to happen, what craziness is lurking behind um, the next kind of door, and kind of you got a lot of horror cliches and stuff happening, which is good if they're the right jumps and they're the right kind of the blend of things. It does remind me a lot of that Child's Play film that came out on the straight to DVD. I really like that element where one of the main characters is, in this example, the house, and not just the porcelain, scary looking creepy doll. As the film goes on, obviously we'll find out what is actually happening about the creepiness behind it all. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Go watch it. And at that point, it kind of loses a little shine for me, because it's kind of oh, that's what it is. Wasn't really too fussed about it, but yeah, it is a really good kind of scary, lots of jumps kind of film. And when you watch the film, you don't feel so caring and so much kind of empathy towards the lead character, because she's doing stuff which she shouldn't have done. But as time goes on and she starts getting stalked and things are happening, I felt more and more towards the character, and felt a real sense of sheer peril that's coming upon her. The elements of scaries and the house itself almost felt like that was scaring her, as well as the porcelain doll and the elements that, you know, the doll is disappearing, moving from here to there, those kind of things. And it's done really well, without giving away kind of like the final kind of twist endings or anything like that. The doll does have that kind of revenge factor about it, where obviously she's not lived up and done what she needs to, and now the doll is out to get her. But if someone gave you that doll as a present and you opened up the box, I'd say chuck it in the bin. It's just creepy looking, and it's very good that way. There's a lot of suspense in there, and it's not the traditional horror where it's a lot of gore and a lot of elements of that. It's really good. Um, there is a lot of bits in the film that you get the feeling that he's got a style of the way he does, because he's I think this is his fourth film now, you know, like The Devil Inside and the rest of them. It's good it's not found footage. I think we're getting a bit bored of found footage, unless if you can do something really clever and really good with found footage. So it's kind of like perfectly done. And the way it ends, that's all I want to quickly talk about, is the ending. With all horror films, you have that post-credit scene, and there's a lot that's left empty, as not enough questions were answered. You don't realize why the doll is doing what it's doing, and don't want to spoil it too much for you, but the ending obviously leaves it open for loads and loads of potential sequels, at least a sequel, which could explain everything and as to why it's all kind of done. But it is very creepy, has the very sharp jumps that we want from a horror film, and it keeps you on your toes guessing what's going on with regards to the doll itself. And what's good about it is, even though you're left in the film with just 2 or 3 characters, it feels like there's more people there, and it feels like there's more about to happen. And it's almost as if like you can't escape, and she couldn't escape from it. Doesn't matter where you go, it means it's stalking her, it's tormenting her. So all those bits, and because she'd just come out of that style of relationship as well, so it's kind of like she left one horrific part of her life only to open the door later to being in another abusive relationship, but this time with a entity or with something she can't see, she can't get away from. Like, she got away from her abusive boyfriend, but here this is something she couldn't get away from, and it's like there's no running away from it, no hiding. So you kind of get the flow of what the director's trying to put in there, where we've got this idea that this girl escaped the true horror of her life, only to then be going into another house and facing another horror of a different kind, and it's just very interesting to see how the two kind of played out in the film. Um, as it is the start of the year, of course, this is the very first kind of big horror film as well. So it's good to see we're off to a good start, not great start, but you know, it's kind of like if you pretty much liked the Chucky kind of movies or Annabelle from last year before. It's kind of like that, but with a bit of a twist in the film. Um, the best parts is kind of when you watch it in the cinema. It's kind of gone a bit black, and people and they do their jumps and stuff. So this is one of those kind of films where people get engrossed into it and then kind of makes you jump. I think he takes a lot from the last Chucky film, because there's a lot of elements that I felt were quite similar in that sense. But it's still definitely worth watching. I think this may be another good horror year, hopefully, with The Conjuring 2 coming out. It's the one that I'm really looking forward to because Conjuring 1 was so good. So fingers crossed that there is a much better year ahead of us. Last year, there weren't as many great standout horror films. A few that were really good, like It Follows, Krampus was funny good. Christmas Horror was really good, a straight to DVD kind of movie. And generally, The Visit wasn't that bad. It was M. Night Shyamalan's. We had The Hollows. We had some Unfriend as well, yeah. So, you know, there were some good films. But, yeah, this is a good start to the year. I'm going to give it a review rating, and I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good horror film, very strong. The latter bit where we get the kind of the unraveling or untelling as to what's actually behind it all, always kind of feel like it lets me a little bit down, a bit like Insidious, which was great all the way through, had all the jumps, had all the scary kids, everything I wanted, and then just kind of like when I saw the ending, I was like, so that's what's behind it all. Wasn't as good. But yeah, hit me up with your comments on the bottom. Tell me if you liked it, disliked it. Tell me what you thought. Click the big S button if you want to subscribe for more videos, movies, reviews.